Hey everybody, welcome to the Mzansi Gunner Podcast on the Gunnercast South Africa podcast page. It's we just did a rebrand last week, and we've just named this particular show because there's the live content that Gunnercast SA does, and I'm sure they will start to revamp that with the now two venues being the Hooters Fourways and Hooters Umhlanga in South Africa, the two venues that you can watch games at. So very exciting. And we have two new guests today on the panel, along with Tim and Renai, who've been with us a few times. So we thank you for returning. And what we're going to do is just to start before we get into all the packed agenda that we have for tonight, is to allow Alex and Levi to just share when they started supporting Arsenal and what caused them, what was the catalyst for them to support Arsenal. And then, so let's start with Alex, with the Sharvan top that we were talking about just now off stage. Sharvan 4, go for it.
Thanks, Dayne. Evening, everyone. Evening to the panel. Evening to everyone watching. First of all, thank you for the invite to actually join the podcast. It's my first time being here, so I'm actually pretty excited. So I started supporting Arsenal, I'd say in my first year of high school, which was around about 2001. And I recall I was in class, right, and I was trying to actually draw, I think it was the Man United badge, if I'm not mistaken. And then one of my friends, Dennis, came where I was sitting and scratched it out and said, no, you need to support Arsenal. And when I was in high school, I think the most popular team was Man U. But since that day, I then started looking at Arsenal, and what made me fall in love with the team, it was the play style, it was the players that we had as well. Because at that time, we had players such as Henry, Ljungberg, Pires. So I'd say the players and the style of play, and also Wenger was the coach then. I would say that's what made me start supporting Arsenal and actually fall in love with them. And 20 odd years later, I'm still here. Thanks.
Nice.
Oh, nice. Okay,
Levi.
guys. Yeah. Thanks for the invite on the podcast. I'm really grateful. I'm glad to be here. Okay, actually, what I started supporting Arsenal 2004, 2005. Actually, that was in my high school year as well. So I grew up in the West African country, Cameroon. So there we used to watching a French league and stuff like that. So watching French league, I started hearing about Arsene Wenger, and then I used to know Pires and names like that. So I started getting interested in supporting Arsenal on a magazine that was called Ongs at the time. So we were looking at pages in school, looking at pages the bash, man. It got me from the very first day that I started. From there, I started watching games at night. Then I fell in love with Arsenal at that time. Ljungberg was my star. I really loved Ljungberg at that time, and Arsene Wenger was the architect, and I was really enjoying football at that time. So I think that was when I started supporting Arsenal until date. The story is long gone.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, guys. Good memories. And it seems like I'm sure we'll have a new wave of Arsenal fans after the last 3 years of challenging for the league and making semi-finals of the Champions League. And Rice's moment, I'm sure, attracted a few fans to Arsenal. But I know that I think, Tim, did you start supporting after the Wenger success years? Hey.
No, I think around 99 to 2000.
Oh,
I think around.
Sorry.
Then. Yeah.
I don't know why I thought it was after. There was someone else that was on the pod that was a bit after. Anyway, so let's get on with the agenda. There's a lot to talk about. I think we'll start with the big news, which is the Eze transfer. He's come home. So very, very exciting, and happened so quickly, and it was like a real dopamine rush. After it kind of been touted most of the window, then then it was confirmed after Spurs looked like they were going to get him. So it was nice to snap it from our rival. I think let's just put our microphones off while I'm talking, and then I'll put mine off when you're talking, just so that I'm getting a bit of feedback. So then basically it was the really exciting news, and then we saw Eze being revealed at the stadium on Saturday, and then we had the great result. So we'll get to the result later, but let's just talk about Eze. And it ended up being a £60 million with 7.5 million of add-ons, with 77 million euros in transfer fee. And yeah, some were saying that, I mean, I don't know how true this is. I think, did Arteta confirm it that there was it was due to Havertz's injury? So Tim, do you want to jump in there?
Sorry, I thought you were going to say us whether he confirmed that Eze had called him. Yes,
that as well.
Yeah. So I think in the post-match interview immediately after the game, Arteta was asked about, is the reporting accurate that Eze had sort of given him a call, and then after that there was a board meeting, and then everything moved quickly after that, and Arteta basically confirmed that. I think he didn't quite acknowledge that it was linked to the Havertz piece, and I think maybe this is the beauty of football, is that sometimes it's not as clear as Havertz gets injured and then that news comes out in the morning, and then we make the signing that evening, or we get the here we go later that evening. There are other things going on, and it looks like if Eze decided not to call Arteta at that moment when he had the sort of Tottenham deal in front of him, and decided to go ahead with it, I don't think we would have intervened. It was definitely, according to The Athletic anyway, very much the player reaching out, and then also reaching out to his England teammates who play for Arsenal, and telling them to put pressure on the club to sign him. So bit of a similar story to Gyökeres in a way, of a player who really, really wanted to come to Arsenal and was willing to go to the nth degree to get there.
That's amazing. We've got agents, Agent Saka, Agent Madueke, Agent Rice. Who else? Manieri, but he isn't really playing the senior team that much. And Lewis Kelly. We've got a lot of English guys, English core. It's amazing. So anyone else want to share on the Eze deal and how it impacted you? Alex?
Yeah, so I'd say that from my end, right, it's actually a signing that actually got me excited, if I can say so. And for some reason, in as much as I know the striker was that number one position that we've needed since Oba, right? I'm not sure if it's the way that he was unveiled at the stadium, or if it's because we actually got him under Spurs' noses. But in its own way, it actually hit, or it slapped harder than the striker signing in its own way. So it's something that I'm actually excited about, and I'm actually looking forward to it, especially since he can play in the attacking mid on the left-hand side. And apparently some people say he can also play on the left wing, which is an area where we actually need someone that can take on players and someone that can actually beat their man. So from my point of view, very excited about it.
Yes. Renai, what do you think? I know you were saying you're more a Rodrigo fan, but it is very exciting to have a signing like this, especially against... It seems like we've thought a lot about breaking down low blocks with the directness of Eze and Madueke, and their numbers for breaking into the box and getting shots on target and shots off from the attacking chances that they have. What's your thoughts on the Eze deal? Renai, I can't hear you. It's not coming through. Can anyone else hear him? No. Okay.
No, it's also muted.
Maybe just leave and come back, and then we'll get you to contribute just now. Maybe Levi, you can go now.
Okay. I think Eze is the missing piece of the last puzzle. I think this guy is going to bring a lot to our attacking side of the field because he can operate from the 10 position and he can operate as a left winger. This guy is going to bring a lot to our attacking. I think we are going with this guy. We are going to cross the line this season. I'm so excited of what he's going to bring to the team. So excited.
That's actually something that I hadn't put on the agenda, was predictions for the top 6 or the top 8 or even the top 4. But I actually didn't think about adding that in because now the window's coming to a close. But maybe we can do predictions next pod after the windows come to a close. There's some people who like to do it before, like I saw the Athletic and some of the pundits did it before. But things can change so drastically with what happens in the window and with injuries, as we've seen. So we might need to do it after the window's closed. So yeah, that's Eze and Renai. Can you try and speak now and see if it'll work?
Can you guys hear me? All right. Yeah. So I'm actually very excited about the Eze deal. And now I'm also looking at, as much as I preferred Rodrigo, I'm looking at it from a point where Eze offers a lot more than someone who can play on the wings. He's someone who can also play as a central attacking mid. He can also, in fact, he fits a lot better into our structure because if you can look into almost everyone, they play more than one, in certain instances, about 3 or 4 positions. So looking into that, I think it makes a whole lot of sense to have someone who's as versatile as so it was a brilliant signing. And what also made it a lot sweeter was the fact that we snatched him right under Spurs' noses. So that was a cherry on top. I'm actually very excited about it. Yeah, so as much as I preferred Rodrigo, it didn't mean that I didn't want Eze. Either or, like I said in the last discussion that we had, having a Rodrigo and Eze would actually make the window a 9.5 out of 10.
Awesome. Yeah, I think we are going to get to the window rating just now because I think we'll talk about it in relation to the outgoings too. But definitely for incomings, it's the best window I've ever seen in my supporting life in terms of incomings and the quality and the fact that we're going to get to the injuries, but we've had 3 major injuries of starters, and I'm not stressed out like I would be if because we've actually got a squad now. It's really amazing. So I think that goes on to the next thing about the injury worries for after the first 2 games. Havertz pulling up and having knee issues, then Odegaard's shoulder and Saka hamstring, which is a big concern. I think the Saka one is the most worrying of all of them, not just because it's Saka and he's been our best player over the last 5 years, but because he has injured his hamstring and there's been a hamstring reign of terror over our club. So I know that the different knock channel did an in-depth analysis of injuries, and they said that there's a hamstring problem in the whole league. So it's not just Arsenal, firstly, and it's because it's the league with the most sprints of all the leagues. So it's the fastest league to transition from attack to from defense to attack, and defenders needing to run back and stop an attack. And basically, it's the league with the most sprints. So that does point towards the data going towards more hamstring injuries. But there must be something that we can do. I mean, I know as a physio that just from a purely physio point of view, if you strengthen the glutes, generally hamstring injuries reduce because the glutes are stronger. So And then the other thing about hamstrings is if the hamstrings are going, then the ACL goes next. So it's kind of like ripples down from glute injury to hamstring injuries to ACL. And ACL is that big boogie man that can put players out for 6 to 9 months. So we don't want to have any ACLs going. So it's obviously a worry that hamstrings are going. But it is a trend all over the league. But unfortunately, we are one of the top in terms of hamstrings, and we've had major players going out. So what's anyone's thoughts on injuries and how you guys feeling about the injuries? Let me go actually to Tim, as we went to you last time. So let's go to you again.
Yeah, sure. I think in general, the amount of injuries that we get don't seem to be that different from other teams. And already it's game week 2, and you've got Frimpong out. Cole Palmer didn't play yesterday. Ait Nouri didn't play. You've got quite a few sort of big names already that aren't playing matches, and we've got Havertz out. It doesn't look like the Odegaard and Saka injuries are going to be as intense as the Kai Havertz one. And to be honest, the timing, we're a little lucky that it comes just before the international break. If this happens just after the international break, when we've got a real run of difficult fixtures in a row with no respite after, then I think I'd look at it more negatively. But with the whispers that are coming out over the last couple of hours that it might not be as bad as it initially looked, I think we'll be fine. We'll weather the storm. But at the same time, it sort of just shows why all the debates that have been going on for the last 6 weeks around where is Madueke going to play? Is he going to start? Where is, Waneri going to play? Is he going to get enough minutes? Do we need to loan him out? When is Downman going to play? Is Mikel going to give him minutes? It's like, who cares, man? The minutes are there. They're on the table. Our guys will get injured. The people that we imagine in our best 11s won't be there for, parts of the season. And so it's just so cool to see, an Arsenal squad that can weather this kind of an injury storm, Dayne. And I don't think if we were to line up without Odegaard and Saka in the next game, or we go up against Liverpool or Newcastle, I honestly think we could still go toe to toe with them, even with Madueke on the right and maybe an Eze on the left or at 10. I think we can do it. The quality on the bench is phenomenal.
That's good. Good point about the stressing that we had. I mean, I was definitely one of them that was stressing about where does everyone fit in. I think it's just because we are so used to having a starting 11 and then and not actually having depth. And now we're becoming more of an established team in terms of 3 title challenges in a row and needing to have a squad that is able to go deep into 4 tournaments. I think I mentioned this before in one of the WhatsApp groups that in 2022, 23, we just kind of pushed in the 1 tournament and didn't really get that far in Europa. And then it was 23, 24, we did quarterfinals. So we got like a little bit further in the Champions League and then got all the way to the last day in the Premier League. And last season, I would say we pushed, we got to semi-finals of 2 tournaments and then fell away in the league in around March. So now we're getting kind of pushing more in 3 tournaments, and now we need to get to the stage where we can push in all 4 tournaments. So I think the squad development has definitely been a great plus in how we have been developing and how we've been growing as a team. And as you said earlier, I don't know, I can't remember, I think it was you, Tim, who said that with Gyökeres, Madueke also, and then with Eze, they all wanted to come to Arsenal. And that's something that has changed, whereas in the past, our players wanted to leave. Now we are attracting some of the best talent in Europe because we are a good destination for them. And we are a place where players want to play. And we're under a manager that players want to play for and have a team that's settled and are going towards the top. So it's very exciting. Alex, what's your thoughts on the squad and the injuries?
Thanks, Dayne. So as both you and Tim actually said, I'm also not too worried. So for example, Saka is injured, but at least we've got Noni that can actually step in. We also have the captain injured, but we've also got Eze there, and we've also got Ethan that can also step in there. So thank God for the squad depth that we actually have, and we've got players that can actually step in. The only thing that I'm worried about from a longer term perspective is that it seems that there's something wrong, and I'm not too sure what it is. Of course, as you mentioned, we actually have more games in terms of the Champions League format that has changed, but I'm not too sure because I know the coach is actually quite intense, and I know that perhaps it's the training as well, which is also intense. Perhaps it's our play style as well, that all the players have to track back, and then in the next phase they need to go forward. So looking at it from a longer term perspective, I'm not sure if it's the medical team as well, but there's just a bit of worry for me in that long term perspective, although we do have the squad depth for players that are more or less at the same level to actually come in if anyone in the first team is actually injured.
Definitely. Thanks, Alex. What's your thoughts, Lever, on the squad depth and how confident you feel about us being able to sustain a challenge into more different competitions than before?
Squad depth. We've been crying for this for the past 5 years, squad depth, and now we have these guys that are able to come in and fit in the shoes of the players that are not available at the minute. You see, for a player like Saka has been the one that have been carrying this team for the past 5 years, and we've been unable to like replace him every time. Every time he gets an injury, we have to bring in someone that's gonna fit in his shoes, and we've not really got that person that can really represent. At the minute, we have this kid, Max Doman. So interesting, so interesting. This is someone that I think that by the time he gets around 16, gets it to 17, he's someone that Saka, we're gonna be looking at Saka and saying, hey, maybe it's time for you to rest. The kid is so talented, so talented. He does everything. I mean, just on point. Just his dribbles, the way he asks for the ball, the way he carries himself. Like, I just don't know, man. The kid is so exceptional. Madueke also is a player that I really like because he's a good ball carrier, and he I think he makes the right decisions at the right time. Those crosses is what we have not been getting from Martinelli for a very long time. Martinelli is a player that, from my own perspective, is a player that is always carrying the ball, putting his head down, and like those passes, he doesn't really distribute them on time. But Madueke is making those right decisions at the minute. So these are the players that we've been crying for a very long time. I didn't really like Madueke in the very first place, but he's here, and I give him my support. With Eze coming in, the signing of Eze is the most exciting signing that for the past 10 years. Players have come and gone. I was excited about Ozzy. He came, he did his stuff, he went, but Eze is the player that I really wanted, and I think that at the minute we are ready to go. And regarding the injuries, I think the intense training in the Premier League, I think this is for me, I think it's the cause of all these injuries. The intense training, and because we've not been giving Saka rest for the past years, I think it's coming to affect him now. That's what I see. But I think with the squad depth that we have, he's going to have enough rest, and I think he's going to go. He's going to be good to go throughout the season. He's going to be back soon, because I read somewhere that it seems like the injury is not as bad as first feared. So I hope it's what it is. For Odegaard, I'm okay. I'm okay with Odegaard. Even if he's out for 2 months and we have Eze playing there, I'm satisfied. I'm satisfied.
Yeah, bro. I think you hit the nail on the head with Dayne. His dribbling is really high level for a 15-year-old. It's so aggressive and relentless. He just takes on his man, and the fact that he's won 3 penalties in 3 games that he's played is unbelievable. We'll come to him more later. And then I wanted to jump on the point about Eze. There's a comment here that says still no proper left wing, and the sales are a concern. So we'll get to the sales just now, but I want to talk about the left wing. And the left wing is something that also was a concern for me, but now we've got Eze who can play left wing. So what is, Renai, what's your thoughts on the percentage of games, and obviously this is dependent on injuries, and now we've just seen Odegaard go out, so Eze could play in the 10 more, but when without injuries, where do you think he will play more, at left wing or in midfield? What's your thoughts?
I see him more of a midfield than a left wing, and the reason why I'm also looking at him more as a midfield player, for the longest of time, actually from mid last season till recently, we've been concerned about the manner in which Odegaard has been playing. He hasn't been playing at his very best, and I noticed yesterday only when we subbed him, our play became a lot quicker than it was because he tend to hold a lot more on the ball. So I do see as someone who can play there and who can also allow our transitional play to be a lot more effective, as opposed to allowing the opposition to shape up, especially when we are in attack. So I see him a lot more there. And with regards to our left wing position, I saw Madueke was much more effective as soon as he went on to the right, as opposed to how he was playing on the left. So if we do not get any incomings, I think the one player that I feel might sort of give us something a bit different to what we are getting at the moment would be Gabriel Jesus, whom we also don't know as to how far he is with his injury. So as far as the depth is concerned, I'm quite happy with it. And for once, after a very long while, I would actually give Mikel for yesterday, whether forced or not. But I think the manner in which he made those changes, bringing in players while there's still enough time for them to effect games, to the point that we were discussing just before we went live, on those games where we were winning 4-0, 5-0, he was still not making substitutions, which was a bit weird considering the fact that we needed to rest our key players, especially given that at the time we didn't have the depth that we have now. So I think having a depth like we do now, it's a really good problem to have as a coach. And if he continues playing and allowing changes to come as early as the 60th minute, the 65th minute, I think it will also enhance the level of competition, because the way it is now, I'm telling you, the guys are just waiting for someone to drop form before they also jump in and give their very best. So where that is concerned, we are in a very good position.
I agree. The 23-24 season was strange, the lack of substitutions when we were winning games quite easily. So that is definitely something that has improved this season, or so far. Has been injury forced, but I think one thing I like about Mikel is he learns from his mistakes in general. I think, and that's something that came out at the end of last season, is that his substitutions and his rotation of the squad isn't as good as it could be. And the other thing is the mid-block thing. So let's see how the mid-block thing is changed, and let's see how the rotation, and it's already started better, is changed. I mean, the fact that he's playing a 15-year-old in the second game of the season is quite phenomenal. So yeah, I know that it's corny, but I can't help it. It's not Max Darman, it's Max Wellman. That guy is just phenomenal. And what is the other thing that I want to... Oh, the left wing thing and Eze. And I just think Jesus was another good point, Renai, that we forget about Jesus because of his injury. And he was injured in January, so normally ACLs take between 6 to 9 months to get back, and they've kind of rumored that he'll be back in October. So yeah, that also could be another option. I just thought it was very telling that Martinelli was on the bench and Dauman and Trossard came on for Madueke. And so I don't know if it was just because it was the state of the game and we were up and Martinelli needed to rest and maybe he's got a niggle. But yeah, I think there's that meme going around of Martinelli looking like the unimpressed man when he heard that Trossard renewed and they signed Eze, who could play left wing too. But I think like all across the pitch, there's no place for our players to rest on their laurels. They have to perform, otherwise they are going to not play or play less. Yeah, so that's the injuries. I think let's move on. There's some comments here that we are getting, so let's just interact with those. So Purple Shelter says, do you think we're done on the market? Purple Shelter, do you think that means incomings? And then let's look at possible sales. And I think this is where, if we had to rate the window, I think the incomings have been amazing, but the sales have been quite disappointing. I think Hein just went out on... Was it a loan or did he get sold? Was it a loan with an option? Because I know he had only 1 year left. Doesn't even know what happened with the Carl Hein, the keeper. Maybe can someone Google it and then we can just give accurate information on the pod. And then it's been Marquinhos and Tavares. That's been the only outgoing. So we've bought 7 players and only had 3 outgoings, and we've still got quite a few players that we need to kind of shift. But there's only really interest in Kivior and Nelson was earlier in the window. So it is worrying in terms of our deadwood that we can't kind of shift them. But at least we have a squad that can, I think just the 22-player thing that we did last season was just criminal, to start the season with 22 players and let so many players go on loan and then have so many injuries. Yeah, Alex, go for it.
Yeah, just a quick one on your question. I was just checking on the Arsenal website. So they just mentioned that it's a loan. So there's no mention about an obligation to buy. Not sure if Arsenal.com normally reports on that, but it just says that it's a season-long loan. Then not much else there.
Okay, anyone else want to jump in there and talk about that topic? And you can just unmute and go for it. Okay, I'll choose someone. Tim, can you go next and share your thoughts?
This is on the sales, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I'm as worried about it as other people are. I think maybe there's a sort of perception that if we don't sell, we won't meet our PSR obligations and things like this. And it's the benefit of being a big club is that you have a big revenue. We have massive gate receipts for the stadium. We have amazing sponsorships. We have the Champions League revenue from last season getting really far in the competition. We make a lot of money. And I think Arsenal fans, and I've said this on this podcast before, we're a little bit too worried about accounting sometimes, and we don't enjoy the transfer window as much as we could. At the end of the day, I'll leave it to the accountants at Arsenal to figure out the bottom line. I think Arteta's response in the press conference was pretty much how I feel about it, which was a reporter asked him, don't you have a bloated squad and you need to, sell people? And he was like, 27? You know, it's a lot smaller than our rivals. It's a lot smaller than Chelsea or City or Liverpool in terms of overall squad size. And I think he's being facetious. He's being contrarian deliberately a little bit there. But he has a point in the sense that if we end up with Zinchenko on the books at the end of this, or Sambi or something, it's not amazing, and we should definitely try get them off to a loan if in a worst case scenario we can't sell them. But if we can't sell them, we can't sell them. We can't, if there's no buyer, you can't sort of sell them on eBay and do an auction. It is what it is, and that'll be fine, because ultimately we've seen what has happened over the last couple games. People drop like flies, and then you're looking around and going, what do we do? Like Slot, actually, right now, he doesn't have Bradley and he doesn't have Frimpong, and he's already going, what do I do with this? Well, if it was us, we'd be turning to Zinchenko, and Zinchenko's a Ukrainian international. I think he's still a really decent player. So yeah, I'm not, basically, long story short, I'm not too worried about the outgoings. And just final point on the question or point around, we still don't have a proper left wing. I don't know, man. I think Eze is our left wing. Just because we've had Martinelli as a chalk on the boots winger doesn't mean that's the only way you can play the left side of our attack. And we've had different ways of doing it before, different styles. Nasri, we've had Kleb, we've had Alexis Sanchez, we've had Walcott, we've had wingers of all different types of strain of wide forward. It doesn't matter. Eze plays wide forward at Crystal Palace on the left and does a heck of a job. So, I don't think we have to worry too much about it. So I don't think we're going to get our Rodrigo. But if you don't want to play for Arsenal, if you're not willing to fight to play for Arsenal, we don't want you anyway. So, yeah, that's my feeling on it.
So comment here about Nelson from Ashwin. Thanks, Tim. I agree with you, Tim. I think we also don't know what to do when we have so many options. I think it's like we kind of have been thinking in a box, because I think about 22, 23, there was about 13 or 14 players that would play regularly. Then the next season was about 15 or 16, and then last season was about 16 or 17. And now we've got about 20 that can play regularly, and then another, I don't know if anyone watched the Different Knock where they talked about, was it the Different Knock? About tiers that McCall used to talk about tiers of players. There's tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. And now he's changed his way of talking about players. And it's very interesting that the way we're looking at a squad it's matured, and we have to mature, because before we were punching above our weight, and we also couldn't attract the best players in Europe because we didn't have the revenue and we weren't in the Champions League. And now we're building on strength on strength on strength. So it's very exciting. Yes, so I think that covers sales. One question about, just going back to the question here about, do you think we're done in the market? I think it depends. If we sell someone like a Kivior, who apparently wants time ahead of the World Cup to play more of a starting role, but I know that he's been anti going to teams like Crystal Palace. I think we offered him to Crystal Palace when we were trying to get Eze in the beginning, is that I think Kivior wants to go to a Champions League team and probably back to Italy, or probably one of the other teams that are playing more established football and that are like a more established team. Is that it's a difficult deal to make. Italians are notoriously snip to spend money on, and they don't have the money to spend on transfers. So yeah, it's a concern. But I think if someone like Kivior goes, then we might go in. I heard we were maybe in for Anthony Robertson, the left back, and then I think Calafiori would shift to a left centre back cover. So there's so many dynamics. I think we also are we can't keep track of all the different dynamics. Like players are like when you mentioned Jesus just now, was it Levi? That I think, or was it you, Renai? I can't remember I think it was Renai. That I actually just like, you forget that we have these players sometimes. That's how like big the squad is, and it's amazing to see. So yeah, let's go on to some more comments here. So we've got guys talking about Nelson and who no team wants them, but the problem with Nelson is he's on 100,000 and Zinchenko's on 150,000 pounds, so that's why we can't shift them, I think. And then they're saying here, but he could go to Palace. The guys were saying in the comments that Nelson didn't want to go to a club that could get relegated, and that's understandable if you look at someone like Ainsley Maitland-Niles, who went down. I think, did he go down with Southampton and then with Leon? No, but Leon didn't go down. So it's interesting, like where some of our players end up. And I also saw an interesting clip on going back to Dayne, that someone was saying that he's at the best club that he could be for his development, because he's got Saka, who went through the ranks as a right winger, and he's now an understudy to Saka as a right winger. And then he's got Wanyeri, who was a right winger, who's now shifting to midfield, who historically has been in midfield. And we've just got talent coming out of our ears. It's amazing. Yes, so a last comment here. This links to what Tim was saying about PSR and FFP. I don't know if anyone would like to talk about it. I know Tim shared about him not being too concerned about it. But does anyone think that we need to sell for PSR and FFP? I think, correct me if I'm wrong, it's over 3 years. So I think we didn't buy a lot of players in the last 3 windows before this. So we might be good because of PSR and FFP, because I actually think I heard something from the Athletics saying we're not that good with FFP. We're like on the brink, but with PSR we're better. That's the Premier League's profit and sustainability rules. Anyone have any comments on that? Otherwise, we can go on the agenda. Yes, Levi.
Okay, I do not mind. If we have to cash out on Martinelli, I do not mind. That's a player that can bring in about 70 to 80 million pounds. Because I read something on Athletics saying that there are clubs in Saudi Arabia that are surrounding this transfer of Martinelli. If we can cash out on Martinelli, I don't mind.
I think it's an option, but I don't think Martinelli wants to go to Saudi Arabia. I think he's pre-prime and he knows that he could still have an explosion in talent. And
buy him the ticket, Dayne. Buy him the flight. Buy him the hotel. Get him the taxi. Do whatever is needed to get him on
Mark is
that
going to
flight.
be upset with you, Tim. Mark on the group is going to be very upset with you.
Mark can get upset, man. At the end of the day, if it's true that there's Saudi clubs who are willing to pay 80 million for Martinelli, man, give him a 10% discount, throw in whatever free box to watch the Arsenal whenever the Saudi royalty want to be in London. I'll do whatever it takes to get that guy to Saudi, because 80 million it's big money. And when the Saudis buy your players, they don't pay in installments over 6 years and all this kind of thing. They just give you cash. They give you the money. It hits your books within 1 or 2 years, and it looks fantastic, So, if Martinelli, if that offer is real, we've got to explore it. And there are ways of telling a player, listen, you are wonderful. It was great to have you here for the last few years, but it's a professional environment. Go find a new job. Harsh, but I think I'm with Levi. I would look at it.
We got a comment here from Dal and Ashwin. Conflicting comments. So Dal is saying Martinelli is still good, and Ash was saying Martinelli must go. And I know Ashwin was saying on the Facebook group that he's a fan of Martinelli staying. So we've got interesting. And then Purple Schultz is saying something similar. If Saudi wants him, selling like it was yesterday. So there's he's quite a opinion divided on Martinelli. With Havertz, we'll come to you now, Alex. With Havertz getting injured, would anyone like to see Martinelli as centre forward and using his pace against centre backs instead of against fullbacks who tend to be faster? I think that's maybe an option for him going forward if now there's so many options at left wing. What's your thoughts, Alex, on whatever you want to share, and then also on the Martinelli at centre forward?
Oh, yeah. So thanks, Dayne. It actually goes nicely into the question I had. So the question I have is, I know that Martinelli has not been playing at his best for the past couple of seasons, but the question I have for everyone on the panel and even the guests watching, would someone different, so a different coach, actually get more out of Martinelli than we are currently getting? And would he perform better perhaps in a different system? Because you can see even those earlier seasons before a few years back when the form dipped, you can see that the talent is there, but it just needs someone to just unlock it per se. So my question is, if he was under a different coach, maybe a Pep, maybe a Sir Alex, does anyone think that that coach could actually get more out of him and then bring out that talent? Personally, I'd not mind if we sell him because we have been patient with him for the past couple of seasons, and he has been trying in terms of tracking back, in terms of defending as well. He's quite good. It's just when he's attacking and that final action, when he's in the final third, where he actually needs to improve on. So I'll just pose that question to everyone.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. I think that's a good question. I think I actually was very pro selling Martinelli because I thought I was doing the accounting stuff that Tim was mentioning, that he was probably the only person we could generate a lot of income from and then use that to generate sales. He was the only sale that could generate incomings. So now that we've been spending so much and now we've had Havertz go out, I actually am really pro Martinelli at centre forward. If there's no one that wants to, because he's also on £180,000, and he's also, I think, 24, so he hasn't even reached his peak. So I think that season in 22-23, going back to your question, Alex, was we were more transitional in 22-23, and we faced less low and mid blocks. So I think he probably would do well at another team, especially I'm even thinking like Bayern Munich had more. And in the German league is more transitional than the Premier League when we are playing. So us and City we face more low blocks than anyone else, and I think that's why Klopp liked Martinelli. He said he was amazing because Klopp played more transitional footy. So it's something that, like, I think he did well in that 22-23 season because we had more space to play in, and he could use his pace better. Now when he's hugging the touchline, his dribbling is just not as good as someone like, even seeing Madueke on the left or seeing Eze on the left. Their dribbling is going to be better at breaking down low blocks. I just, with the teams that we are facing, I struggle to see where Martinelli is going to make an impact because we've not seen an impact the last two seasons with low blocks and mid blocks. So that's my thoughts. Anyone else have any? And Renai, you nodding your head. What's your thoughts on Martinelli?
I think he would do very well as a centre forward. There is the moment I think of Martinelli as a centre forward. I remember that game we played. I think we were playing Chelsea, where he had to run through Kante and I don't know who the other defender was, and he scored a very brilliant goal. So I think his pace can also allow him to be a lot more direct, because what we've seen of late, he's always been that guy who will close himself to the corner and not have a lot of option, with only an option of passing back or losing the ball or getting a throw in. So I think maybe that could be a way in which he can redeem himself from that position. And the issue of sales, now that you guys mentioned it, I think we've been worried a lot more about the accounting stuff and forgetting that we also are a football club that we just want to see great players coming in and also doing well as well as they can. So I think, given that we've always had an issue of selling players. Even the good players that we let go of, they were going for peanuts, so to say. So I think there should also be a ruling that we are trying to phase out certain players. I mean, guys like you, what you call, there's guys that we know for a fact that they will not be playing at all. Vieira, for an example. I mean, if you are to go and offer guys like Vieira to newly promoted sides, I don't think a lot of them would mind, in a sense whereby chances are those are the guys whom the teams can be built around them. I mean, if you check guys like your Nelson, I understand that he also doesn't want to go to a team that might be relegated, but those are guys that for other teams, there are certain teams that will not be relegated per se, but there will be those mid-table clubs that would seem them, or rather that would have that can extract some value out of them. So I think we just need to bite the bullet and then get rid of the players that we need to get rid of, and then structure our position as to how are we going to phase our players out where we need to. So if it's an issue of learning something, I think there's something that we can learn from a team that is also that also knows very well how to sell their players is Real Madrid. So, for an example, the moment they start post, bringing in players that are playing in certain positions, immediately they would want to get rid of them while they are still in a position wherein they do have some sort of value. Um, we shouldn't be waiting for as long as we did now with guys like Vieira. I think we need to be a bit more decisive. That would give us a bit of a room to breathe, or to be able to sell our players, because I think we tend to hold on too long, believing that these players will turn around. But I think our ability to move from signing someone whom we deem as someone with a potential, or someone who might have a potential that will not be fulfilled in our team, I think that would be the difference in solving the issue that we've struggled with for the longest of time. So I think that is just the balance that we just need to have, and be honest and say, is this guy someone whom we feel they can be able to improve and add value into our team? One loan is too many. One loan and they're still not cutting it in the club in which they are loaned. I think let's just be open to cutting our losses and then get rid of such players. Yes, the amount of money might not be what we are budgeted, what we've budgeted to sell them for, but in the long run, it would work out a lot easier, in a sense whereby we are also kiting on the wages that we are paying these guys who we know for a fact that they will not be adding anything into the team.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that Nelson has probably gone on the most loans in our team. I don't know how many loans he's gone on, and it sounds like that that's all they're offering him again. And I know Sesk in one of the WhatsApp groups is really annoyed about that. Nelson wants to go on, or potentially might go on loan again. Like, surely this guy is like Odegaard, who went on so many loans from Real Madrid, but then eventually decided to come to Arsenal. So let's move on from sales. I thought this point here from Dell was good. He wants to see how Martinelli plays with Zubimendi. And I just want to just comment on Zubimendi quickly before we go into the review of the Man United game, is that Zubimendi has done really well in preseason and in the first two games. And I think he's been under the radar. And what's your thoughts, Levi? I'll go to you on the Man United game, and then we'll come to the Leeds game next.
Yeah, that Man United game was not all that rosy. The game was a bit slow. It was really, really slow, not a bit slow. The game was slow. We didn't really get our transitions on point, and the passes were very, very slow from back to front. And but at least we got the point. Zubimendi, he was average in that game. He was average, but he redeemed himself in this Leeds game, and everything he did was on point. Everything he did was on point, and he's a player that I'm really looking up to. I want him to stay fit for the whole season. If Zubimendi can stay fit for the whole season, we are going to get to the top. I believe so.
No, thanks for sharing that. Let's go to Alex next. What's your thoughts on the Man United game? And then we can quickly shift on to the Leeds games. I know we're all dying to talk about the Leeds game.
Oh, thanks, Dayne. So in terms of the performance, it was not the best. It was not impressive in terms of the actual performance. You can tell that it was the first game of the season. A lot of the players were still a bit on the rusty side. However, since we're playing at Old Trafford, and that's a place where we don't normally get 3 points, I'm actually happy with the fact that we managed to win. So in terms of the result, I was actually very happy with that, and I was happy to get the 3 points. There's a saying that people always say that if you're to win the league, you need to win some of these games ugly, and especially at these teams where normally we don't do so well. So in terms of the actual performance, not so good, but I was very happy with the 3 points, very happy with the results as well.
So I just put a comment on the chat. 3rd win in 18 years at Old Trafford. So it was something that was a bit of a boogie ground for us, but we've really turned, especially against Chelsea and Man United, we've turned. Oh, there's a kid. Hello. United and is everyone okay? Can you hear me? Okay, sorry, it froze on my side. So let's go on to the Leeds game. Tim, what's your thoughts on the Leeds game?
Yeah, pretty much a perfect day. 10 out of 10. Would highly recommend. I mean, what can you ask for? I think the first 30 minutes were difficult, and I think maybe showed us what we've been having to deal with for a couple of years now, which is Leeds had no intention to play us. Even when we scored the first goal, Timber scored the first goal, they didn't change their approach at all. And it was only when Saka scored the second one and they had a bit of a change and they started to bring the line up, a higher line to try, get back into the game, put us under a bit of pressure. And it's that high line, which is what Calafiori exploits by putting the first time over the top pass. Some people said it was a bit of a rash pass. It wasn't at all. He 100% looks at Gyökeres before he receives the ball and then does the first time pass. Gyökeres getting the ball with 10, 15 yards to run into is exactly what he's used to and what everyone convinced us would never happen in the Premier League. Well, it did happen in the Premier League and it happened in game week 2 and it will happen more often. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought the Eze touch of having him walk out on the pitch before we kicked off was smart, very, very smart. The club know what they're doing, man. And, again, Arteta said to the club to remove the tunnel, the tunnel thing that comes out of the Emirates onto the pitch. How good did it look without the tunnel, with Eze sort of arriving and then coming forward and walking on? It was incredible. And yeah, although we spluttered a little bit in the first 30 minutes, once we scored a couple of goals, it was game over from there, and they really folded in the second half. I thought they were terrible, to be honest, in the second half, and we could have scored more if we wanted to. By the end of the game, it was a leisure contest, and we were strolling around, just passing it to whoever we wanted. Last point, Dalman. He didn't just come on for his debut, but he came on in the sort of 68th, 69th minute, I think it was. And Mikel was basically saying, look, you're not just here to participate, you're here to play and you're here to make an impact. And yeah, he made an impact, didn't he? He won his third penalty for us. Was it a penalty? Maybe, I don't know, but VAR didn't overrule it. I thought I saw a little bit of a step on his toe, not the other leg that he sort of dragged against the defender, which looked like a bit of a dive. So for me, it's a penalty, but it doesn't really matter. It's just the fact that he looks comfortable in men's football, and he's going to have a big impact this season. Yeah, awesome game.
So on Darman, before we go to that, let's acknowledge one of the other Hell End guys. Dell just mentioned that ESR scored against United. So that's good news. And then Awobi assisted. So thanks, Dell, for the update. What were you doing at age 15, guys? Let's do a quick, let's go around the room quickly, like for just like a memory from when you were 15. And my friend and I, Ted, we used to, in science class, do this pea shooting game. We drew on the prefab wall. We made like a dartboard, and then we would pea shoot, like paper mache pea shooting on the back of the wall. So that's what I was doing at age 15. What were you guys doing at age 15? Alex?
Age 15, I was probably in my third year of high school. Can't remember too much of anything crazy happening, but yeah, just being young, just being a bit on the naughty, mischievous side. But yeah, I think I was in my third year of high school when I was 15.
Sorry, let's go to you, Renai.
Age 15. I was playing football at the time. I think I represented the Gauteng under 17 at the age of 15. Yeah, I was full time playing football. Like I was sleeping, drinking, eating football at the time. So yeah, there wasn't really much that I was doing other than that. Let's go to school, training. If I'm not in training, I'm playing games, and that's about it. I was just playing football. Why?
So what position did you play, Renai?
I played left wing, and I also played central attacking mid.
Was that a traditional left wing in the 4-4-2, or was it an inverted wing?
It was an inverted one. I'm naturally right-footed, but I was the type of wing that would cut in and score goals. So yeah, that's how I played.
Okay, awesome. That's exciting. And then let's go to you, Levi. What were you doing when you were 15? Sorry, let me just unmute you. Go for it. You can start again.
I was also playing at 15, and I was playing very good until injury hits. I actually broke my ankle when I was 16, yeah. I broke my ankle when I was 16, and I had to stop football. I was a center back and a very good one, but I had to abandon football at that moment. You know, growing up that side, we didn't really have these good doctors that can really check and really like diagnose and let you know that you can have this time and that time. We just have this home treatment that we take at that moment. We didn't really see doctors, and so that's how my career stopped.
Oh, sorry about that, Levi. And then you, Tim, what were you doing at 15 that you can remember?
I moved to South Africa when I was 15. I remember that. I was living in Wales at the time, moved to Joburg when I was 15. Played for ISSL, which is a league in Joburg, or a team in a regional league in Joburg, which was fun. But to be honest, at that time, doing anything serious was the furthest thing from my mind. I think enjoying being a youthful teen with with the ladies and with the lads, you know, just enjoying life was definitely on the agenda at 15. Not a lot of being a professional footballer working out for us, and I think that is definitely incredible. And I hear the boys got to go back to school, I think, this this year. I think he still has to do his GCSEs legally in the UK. So, yeah, making your debut for Arsenal and then going to school the next day must be a very bizarre experience.
And at least he has Wanyeri that's gone before him. I mean, he's the second youngest debutant, and then Wanyeri's done it. So obviously Wanyeri doesn't play as much as him, but it's like he's just got the perfect environment. Wanyeri, Saka's gone before him, Smith Rowe, I'm sure would be available to talk to him. And then Eze, who kind of didn't get in to the system and like got released at age 13. So we've got this interesting mix of players who've made it, players who didn't make it and now have returned home. So yeah, really, really exciting. So let's go to after the Leeds game. What else was on the agenda? I think just check. Everyone has shared about H15. So let's go on to the next part of the agenda, which was trying to remember now. Can anyone help me with what's next?
I think we're the star players of the two games. Then afterwards, we're going to rate the window out of 10.
Star players. So Alex, you can go for it. Who stood out for you in the last two games?
So I'd say, in the first one, right, Calafiori definitely with the goal. And also Rea in the second half. He actually made quite a few saves in there. And then going on to the Leeds game, I'd say Rea as well. There was that good save that he made in the first half. I would also say Calafiori, in terms of going forward, I was actually quite impressed with him. And obviously Timber as well with those 2 goals and with the assist. I was impressed with that. Gyökeres, that first goal of his where he actually controlled it nicely. And then he beat, I think, 2 people in the box. And then he scored for us. And then he also scored his second goal, which was the penalty. I was also impressed with him. Noni, he actually looked good on the left. But when he went on the right-hand side for those 10-15 minutes, he looked very much lively. And due to that, and with Saka being injured, I'm not so worried now. I know that Noni is not at the same level as Saka, but the way he was lively at that right wing, it's actually promising. It's actually promising. And then finally, Max Dauman, like, wow, what a player. I'd say what stands out for me about him is that he's not someone that likes to actually pass the ball backwards too much. He's someone that's always asking for the ball. And when he's got the ball, he's always looking to actually beat his man. And like someone said earlier, that's the third penalty. If you look at the preseason games and also the first game in the Premier League that he started in, he's always someone that draws the penalties. He's not necessarily looking for penalties and diving, but the way he just moves and also gets past players have got no choice but to foul him if they're actually going to stop him. So I'd say the last player that stood out for me would be Max Dauman as well in the last game.
Thanks, Alex. Let's go to Tim. He needs to drop off so we can just hear who stood out for you in the 2 games.
Yeah, for me, it's I thought Zubimendi in the second game more than the first, but the first game I appreciate. The reporting is saying that he was ill, and I think maybe that's why he was a little absent in the Man United game until the second half. But I thought he was absolutely brilliant in the Leeds game, and I think he's far more brilliant defensively than I thought he was going to be. The way he goes into tackles and turns over the ball, and the goal for Saka comes from Wanyeri receives the ball and he loses it in the center, and then Rice very, very quickly knocks the ball off the defender, off the midfielder, and it comes to Zubimendi, and he with one touch pings it to Timber, who pings it to Saka, who scores. And we've had players, no disrespect to Partey, I think he was really good as a CDM, the everything else notwithstanding, but he often would be quite slow with that. Same with Odegaard at times, quite considered and then take a bit of time. Zubamendi just pings a pass out. And if we really are going to play a little bit more directly this season to get the best out of Gyökeres, it's going to be Zubamendi pinging the ball around a little quicker. That I think is going to be the outstanding difference between this season and last season. So yeah, Zubamendi for me has stood out. But I'd also say I think Rice was really, really poor in the first game. So it was good to see, just as a little comment, how good he was in this game. I thought he was fantastic. Unfortunately, I've got to go. So thank you again for having me on the podcast, folks. And I'll see you next time.
Tim, before you go, do you mind just telling us about your podcast?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for asking, Dayne. So we recently launched the Pattern Play podcast, which is a Premier League focused podcast. So it's all the teams in the Premier League. We're not Arsenal focused, but I do try to steer it toward Arsenal when I get the opportunity to. You can find it on all your streaming and audio podcast platforms. So Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. So yeah, do join us if you want to, Tuesday mornings and Friday mornings. Yeah. Cheers, Dayne. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Okay, so let's go to you next, Levi, and just share who stood out for you.
Okay. I think Raya really showed us why he's been a Golden Glove winner for the past 2 seasons in that United game. I saw he was very good, and even in the Leeds game, he did very well. He was outstanding with that save that he kept us into the game. That save was very much needed, and he did it just on time. And then Zubimendi was my player for the Leeds game. He was very mobile everywhere in the pitch. He was making those tackles, giving those right passes, receiving the ball, looking at it, staring at the field, giving out the right passes everywhere. Zubimendi, and the next player for me was Doman, this kid, I'm really, 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 really impressed. I'm really excited. I really want to see what he's gonna be. I think that's the next Messi that we'll see in England. I really rate him that high.
Okay, let's see. Renai, have anything to add there?
The players that stood out for me has to be in the first game. I'd say Raya stood out. I think he was the difference between us and the 3 points. But also something that also happened with that game, I admire the level of discipline that we had. Although we didn't play really well, it was one of those games where on any other day we would have lost that game because of the disorganization as to whether we going to get a goal or not, or we are maintaining the pressure. So we absorb the pressure really well, which is something very, 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 very good, especially given that we know for a fact that defensively we've got one of the best defense in the league. I think Raya was the standout player. I was a bit worried about the manner in which we were playing Gyökeres, but with the goal that he scored against Leeds, I think it will only allow him to connect a bit better with our front line, and also I think they will also start to trust him a lot more because of what he can produce at any given moment. I mean, that chance, if you look at it, it was not a clear chance, but he made sure that he made something out of that chance. So I would echo the sentiments that the guys are mentioning around Doman. He's really, really, really exciting, and there is nothing that shows that he's a teenager. He's someone who is ready, someone who's also very hungry to get the ball. Waneri also stood out for me in a sense where in the manner in which he went in, he was allowing us to attack a lot quicker than we did with Odegaard. The other player that stood out, I would say Zubimendi. Zubimendi, he's one of those players where, if you remember the Barcelona team that had Busquets, when he was not there, you could see that he's not there. But when he was there, no one mentioned anything about him. And I think that's what we are going to see a lot more with Zubimendi. He's playing a position where, in unfortunately, there won't be a lot of praises because of what the dirty work that he does in the middle of the park will allow the other guys to have a lot of freedom to be able to produce some magic. But if you look into it nicely, everything good that is happening, it starts from him. He's like the engine room of the team. And the more we have him in our team, or having him fit, would allow us to be able to be a team that can beat any team at any given time. So those are my standout players. Madueke, when he moved to the right, he was also very promising, which is something that is also motivating, in a sense where you are not too worried when Saka is not there. We knew last season our season almost came crumbling down when Saka was injured. The same was said when Odegaard was injured as well. But I think we are now in a very good position, or rather in a good place, where any person who can be called on, they know for a fact that there is competition and they just need to show up. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing more of Domen. Even if he used to play those 10 minutes there and there, I think it will make a huge difference, and it will also work in our advantage, especially with the other youngsters that are in the academy. Also, they will get to see that if you are going to work hard and deliver, chances of you being in the first team, you don't necessarily need to be 18 or 21 in order for you to get the chance. So yeah, I'm actually looking forward to seeing more of him. Also Nwaneri in that Odegaard position, I think he also needs to be getting some minutes. Wherein we're killing off the games. Let's allow him to play and see what he can does into the games. So yeah.
No, thanks. So I also just put a question on the comments. What do we think about how many goals Gyökeres will score in the English Premier League and in all competitions? And would anyone like to also venture how many assists they think Eze will get in all competitions and in the Premier League? Let's start with you, Alex.
Oh, thanks, Dayne. So I'll say in the league, my expectation would be around about at least 15 to 20 goals in the league. In all competitions, probably 20 to 25. And for now, looking at the first two games, right, I could tell that the team is actually still trying to get used to playing with that out-and-out striker, still trying to learn how to pass those through balls, those over-the-top balls as well. But I think that's something that will only get better with time. And as we play more games, it's something that we'll actually get used to. If someone like an Eze is actually starting most of the games and we've got Saka at the right and also perhaps Noni at the left, I think 15 to 20 goals is possible in the league, then 20 to 25 in all competitions. Eze as well, in terms of assists, I think it also depends on the amount of minutes that he gets, but I would say at least 7 assists if he actually gets that fair share of game time.
Thanks, Alex. Good call. Leva, what's your predictions for Gyökeres and?
Yeah, Gyökeres, I see him scoring. I think I'm going to go with Alex. I see Gyökeres getting about 15 to 20 goals in the Premier League and 20 to 27 goals overall in all comps, because he's going to have a lot of game time this season. Because I don't see a Havertz coming back, and like he's going to get his fair share of game time, but I don't see him having a lot of game time this season. So I think Gyökeres is going to give us a lot of goals this season that we need to go across the line. And for Eze, I think Eze is going to be between 7 to 10 assists if he's giving his fair share of time, game time.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think I would say 18 for Gyökeres in the league, and I would say he'd score more in the Champions League because he already scored 5. I think 5 or 6 for Sporting. That's in a worse team, and he did well in the Champions League. And I think there's more high lines in the Champions League compared to low blocks and mid blocks in the league. So definitely see Gyökeres doing well, and I'm just glad that he got 2 in the game and put that penalty away comprehensively. Did anyone think that they might give the penalty to Dayne because he won the penalty and was surprised that they didn't? I see you nodding, Alex. What did you think about the penalty?
Oh, yeah. So I think the sentimental part of me actually wanted Max to take it. But it does make sense as now we've got our lethal striker and he's the specialty penalty taker. The one thing that I liked from his celebration was the hair flick, because I think he was being trolled after the Man U game that he had more flicks of his hair than actual touches. So that's something that I enjoyed on that second celebration.
Thanks, Alex. Renai, let's go. I think we did speak about the amount that you think Gyökeres will get, but let's hear your view on Eze and what Eze would produce.
I think Eze would get a good 8 or 9 assists. I feel Rice will get a lot more assists with the corners. I'm looking at around 12 for Rice, across 12 to 15 across all competitions for Rice. Now I'm also putting my head on the block and say Gyökeres would go and contend very, very strongly for the Golden Boot. So I'm looking at 25 to 30 in the league. I do see him going for that. And the reason why, I also had a similar sentiment to say, if Domen was to be given that penalty, it was going to be a very good sentiment. But also, given the age he's at, if he miss it, it might also mess up with his mentality and the self-belief. He might have a lot more doubt than the amount of belief. So I think it went well, and also it being given to Gyökeres, I think it also gives him the hunger. It sort of fuels the hunger to say, if I'm on 2 now, next game, if I can get 2 more, I've got this thing, I can go on and become a top goal scorer. So there is nothing that is exciting than having a striker that is hungry for goals. So I think it actually worked well that Rice gave the penalty to Gyökeres to ensure that we do have we sort of give him the opportunity for him to go all out and contend for that Golden Boot from the onset.
So who would you say, like, I know Saka normally took our penalties last year and then Odegaard took some in preseason. Who would you say at the club now? I mean, now Jorginho's left. Jorginho was one of the best penalty takers in the world, never mind at Arsenal. But Saka actually took more penalties than Jorginho because Jorginho wasn't playing as much. Who do you think are the 3 best penalty takers at Arsenal at the moment? Let's go to you, Alex.
So I'd say number 1 would definitely be Glock 14. Then possibly second can be Saka. Third take, I'm not too fast. Odegaard perhaps. But my number 1 would definitely be Glock 14, Gyökeres.
Levi, what's your thoughts on the 3 best penalty takers at Arsenal?
Alex is on point. Alex is just on point. Gyökeres first, Saka second, and Odegaard third.
We got a good comment from Dahlia about Saliba's best penalty taker. If you know, you know. that little jump that he does, that little. Yeah. So I would say I agree that Gyökeres is our best. With you, Alex, that I mean, he scored 17 or something ridiculous penalties in the Premier League, the Liga Portugal. Sorry, the Liga Portugal. And Saka, because he's also overcome the mental block of that miss at the Euros, where he was, hurled racist abuse. So I think they are, and then I would actually say Havertz, because I've seen Havertz take really good penalties. I mean, he took that penalty when he scored his first Arsenal goal against, was it Brentford or Bournemouth? One of those two. When he hadn't scored and he had like a really bad start and he wasn't doing well, and then it was it Odegaard that gave him the penalty? Odegaard and Saka, but they basically gave him a pity penalty, but it built up his self-esteem, and then he went on those and scored 13 goals at the end of that season after having none in the beginning of the season. So I would say Havertz is our third best. Renai, what's your take?
Mine. I was just to mention Havertz being the third. So I would have Gyökeres, Saka, as well as Havertz. So those would be my top three. Something very interesting. On that preseason game where we played penalties, 4 of our 5 spot kick takers were all left-footed. That was very interesting.
We've actually got such a strong presence of left-footed players in our team, whereas a few years ago we didn't have that that dearth of left-footed players. But we've really got a lot now, and would anyone like to see a change? As the last comment, and I think we can end it there in terms of a left-footed player playing at left centre mid and a right-footed player playing at right centre mid. So Odegaard sometimes switching to the left and putting in those spaces from the half, putting in crosses from the half spaces, and then Rice putting in crosses from the right half space. Do you think that might help, even if someone like an Odegaard can overlap around our left wing if we've got an inverted left winger? Or do you think that the left back is doing enough of the overlapping if we have someone like a Calafiori playing instead of an MLS? So I did ask a complicated question there, but Levi, what's your thoughts on why do we play a left-footed at right centre mid and a right-footer at left centre mid? What's your thoughts on that?
Me, I would not like to see Odegaard functioning on that left side of the pitch, because he's got this combination that he's been used to with Saka on that right side of the pitch, and he's been doing very well for the past years until when, I don't know, or last season. He's really off par. So I don't really think, but with MLS, I'm really impressed with the way he invests into the midfield, and even Calafiori have been doing very well at that position. And I think I'll prefer for a player to invest in that position from the left side. I really like when MLS does it. They like the way he receives the ball with his body, the way he moves, and those passes, the way he views from the final third, the way he distributes his passes at that position. I'm really impressed with that.
Yeah, his ball carrying and you're right. His positional awareness and using his body is very good. So let's end on this. Just a comment which I thought was interesting. When Odegaard went off, Saka was made the captain, and we've all been shouting about, or not we, but a lot of the Arsenal groups. There's a lot of calls for Rice or Gabriel to be the captain instead of Odegaard. But it's interesting that it went to Saka, and then Saka got injured, and then it went to, was it Gabriel that got given the captaincy after Saka? So interesting that Rice wasn't given the captaincy, and it went to Saka then Gabriel. So I don't know if was Rice off. Is that why he didn't get given it? I can't remember. But did anyone remember who was on the field when Saka went off?
No, Rice was still on the field when Saka went off. So I think we also need to remember the hierarchy with our captains. For the longest of time, I think even before Rice joined the team, has always been Gabriel was also one of the captains, even Gabriel Jesus as well. So I think maybe Mikel is just continuing with the hierarchy that was that was appointed at the time. I think if I remember very well at the time, it was Odegaard, then Saka, and then Gabriel Jesus, as well as Gabriel Magalhaes. I think Jorginho was also one of the captains as well. So I don't know as to, yeah. So I think he's still going with the same hierarchy, and I'm thinking maybe Rice is also within those guys, but maybe he might be in the back of the queue, given the manner in which, or rather when he joined the team.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Any thoughts from anyone else closing on that point, and then we can end the pod there?
So no thoughts on that on my end. Just wanted to check if we're still going to quickly rate the transfer window out of 10, or will that be for the next show?
I realized that we actually did it the last two pods, and then the window's not closed. So maybe we'll do it after the window's closed and rate it as a whole with sales as well. So we'll leave that for today. Obviously, the SA one has brought the ratings up, but we haven't made sales. So yeah, let's close there. Thank you everyone for coming on. It was really a good pod, and we kind of kept to time today. So thank you for everyone sharing. It's a really fun time to be an Arsenal fan, and it's a good place to be an Arsenal fan in South Africa. I've had two friends that I know, or two people that I met, that actually came from England, and they said they've met so many passionate and well-informed fans in South Africa of Arsenal, and they were from North London themselves. So we really have a good fan base in South Africa, and we've had more and more fan channels and things coming out to South Africa. So stay tuned. And then I just want to mention one more thing on the banners, that we have two venues for South African supporters clubs and watch-alongs, and that's in Johannesburg at Four Ways Hooters and Durban at Mshlanga Hooters. So please do go check out those venues. The Mshlanga one is a new one, and the Four Ways one has hosted some games last season, but now is going to be hosting more games going forward. Thank you for everyone joining us on the Mzansi Gunner Podcast. It's been great. Have a good evening and keep it Arsenal.
Cheers, everyone.